I would like to share some thoughts on how to punch an AI over the car, specifically relating to assault skip and vengeance skip. But first I have to explain how punching works to begin with. So I've drawn in yellow this melee radius, sort of, kind of, but that's not actually how it works. When you punch, so in this case I'm looking there, a hitbox will appear. It's the same size as your own hurt box and the enemy's hurt box. So it's one tile, 16 by 16 pixels in the original resolution. And if the enemy's hurt box connects to it, like this, or like this, anything, they get shot away from you. So the direction they go is not dependent on where you look. So I've just had this example here. I don't know why I deleted it. In this case, the direction you're looking doesn't matter. If you were instead looking like down and like punching him like this instead, he would still go in the same direction, and that direction is there, right? So they always go radially away from you. So if he's standing down here, then the game just takes the direct line from you to their hitbox, so their center, and shoots them further in that direction. So that's how punching works. So now to choose how and when to punch them, you do what Jack told me, and I think I mentioned it in one of my tutorials. You imagine a line from the enemy to the melee, or to the weapon, and that is step number 1 is the most important step. So in this case, we have an extra obstacle here, that's the car, so you can expect him to sort of bounce off the car and do something like this. If he's like really far over here, he bounces a bunch. So if he's anywhere below the car here, just skip their position. Just imagine them walking from the corner of the bumper to the weapon. And this should be the optimal case. Sometimes when things go weird, the enemy might be over here, and then you have to imagine them going like this. Of course, and then there's no bumper, but the angle can be very different. I guess the most extreme angle that you'll find is just straight up. I find this kind of annoying, but whatever. So yeah, you imagine the line, and then you position yourself accordingly. So in this example, and this is really, I believe this is a pretty good positioning from my taste, I've positioned myself as far away from the line as I can while still hitting them. Why do I do that? Well, simple reason really. If we have a look, if we imagine them walking like this versus this, then this distance here versus this distance here represents how much time we have, how big the time window is where we have to land the hit. Right, this is supposed to be the angle. I've come up with this angle, right? This angle isn't based on anything. I've just drawn an angle here just so you get the gist, but this is supposed to be the angle where if you punch them within it, they go in a direction that is conducive to skipping the level. It's probably bigger, I would say, but it doesn't matter. So as you can see, when they're further away, the angle is wider. The angle isn't wider, but it feathers out like away from you, so it gets easier to punch them in the correct direction. So that's one important lesson: stand far away. But also another thing that well, I can't really argue geometrically like this one, but just sort of mentally and visually, I prefer, so if we imagine this line again, I prefer my punching line to be as much as a right angle as possible. So what you actually do in the run is, bear with me, you stand here to drop the gun or melee, and then you walk left, because I described to you how you should be standing away. But I also say you should walk down a decent bit. I don't know if the invisible line is actually here. You'll have to like figure it out, but I think this is kind of ish correct. So why do we stand down? Or why do we want the right angle? I just like it visually because it's easier to see when he's right in front of you. Right? You want to look in this direction here, and you want to punch when he's right in front of you. And the angle gives you like a bit of wiggle room in either direction to be too early or too late. And if you were standing here and looking in this direction, I find it much harder to judge when exactly is he in front of me, because here, I guess it's a matter of taste. It's hard to argue this one, but I like to go down a good bit, have a right angle, and just visually, because you need to line up not only do you line up the right angle for timing's sake and visual sake, but also the same angle has to also get you in the right place. So when you stand up here, okay, instead of standing down here, you stand up here and you imagine this line. Okay, now you need to also imagine and calculate in your head, okay, which angle do I need to hit them at such that they land here? Because you don't want to punch them straight right, because then they hit the corner. So I think standing here makes it just visually hard. Standing down here and aiming for the right angle, that makes it really easy comparatively. So I recommend you do this as well. And if you don't do this, I guess then at least I hope you have an understanding of how this really works, getting them over the car.